Welcome to the Dub and Trey Show. Thank you again for listening and thank you for downloading the content. Once again, you can reach us on IG, Facebook, and also you can reach us at dubandtrey@gmail.com. So let's get right into it. Cheating Part 2. We definitely had a lot of feedback. We definitely wanted to get back into it. So I'm gonna go right in and start talking about some of the things that we discussed in the last episode. So one of those things were the double standards when it comes to cheating, when it comes to forgiveness. One of those things that I feel like is consistently going on for men. We really don't have a forgiveness meter. There's certain things, and me and Dub will talk about that. There are certain things that a man will just not forgive and move forward. He may try, but it's going to be very difficult. And then there are some men who will try to forgive. But I think the majority of men, there's a meter there. And we're going to talk about what that is. What are some things that you can forgive and what are some things that you can't forgive? But we definitely want to talk about the double standards because I definitely think women have a tendency to forgive more and have a better broad outlook on what forgiveness truly looks like. So that's one of the things I wanted to touch on when it comes to cheating. Also, I wanted to touch on the emotional perspective of cheating versus the physical, which we touched on in the last episode as well. And then, how cheating is perceived and how we get over that pain and that hurt by moving forward. And Doug will touch on a lot of those things as well.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, let's get right into it.
Yeah, man. So the double standard thing, I think that comes from just history in itself. Like it's always been a double standard when it comes to relationships between men and women, especially the physical part of, sex and things like that. It's always been a double standard about what we men do and what's acceptable for us just as men versus what is acceptable for women. So, the reality is, again, throughout history, men can be as sexual as we want to be. And even in women's eyes, it's not the same as a woman having the same sexual appetite, right? So it's kind of normal for a man to have a healthy sex appetite. And it's not so normal, at least it didn't used to be, for a woman to have the same kind of appetite. And I think when it comes to cheating, those same double standards exist, right?
Right.
I also think that when it comes to forgiveness, that same double standard is I think it's reversed. I think that there's more of a double standard for women to be more forgiving than men. Mm-hmm. Naturally, I think it's not as a surprise when a woman is being forgiving when she's cheating on as much as it is for a man to be forgiving when he's cheated on.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think it's so hard for us not to be as forgiving? I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of a lot of reasons, but are my reasons truly valid? Are they truly? Is it really something that I can come to the table and feel like I'm justified? It's a hard question to ask. Like, why? Why is it so hard for us to overcome that?
I think it has to do with something we had already talked about in the What Men Want episode, where we talked about our egos. And we talked about needing our egos kind of stroked and feeling like we're kings and being treated like we're kings. And if that holds true, which we both agree that it does, there's no king that has a crown that he wants to share, either on purpose or what have you. You know what I mean? I mean, now there are those relationships where people are swingers and they're open sexually and things like that. That's a different case. But when it comes to the trust factor, I think men just have a problem forgiving that in general. And women, honestly, I don't know how women do it. I would love to have a woman's perspective.
I would love to hear it.
Because women go through so much. Men put women through so much stuff throughout a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think women consistently give new men a fair chance. I'm not saying the slate is always wiped 100% clean, but I think she gives the next man a fair enough chance that even if she brings some baggage from her past to the new relationship, it's still just enough for him to be able to still be in a successful relationship with her and still have her trust and have her love. Whereas I think that's really hard for a guy to do. I think it's really hard for a man to have been cheated on and really been hurt and then move forward with the next woman,
Right.
and give her a fair
Right.
shot.
Right. He's going to move accordingly, if you will. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to, most likely, he's going to just move accordingly so he doesn't feel that pain again.
Exactly. He's going to guard himself,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
even if she
Yeah.
doesn't know it, but he's going to stay guarded to some extent. I don't think he may love her whole eventually, but in the beginning, he will be very guarded, you know?
Yeah. He's going to be very stand. He's not going to allow her in. It's going to be a lot of work to get you. You will have to show a lot of sacrifice and dedication for a long period of time and may have to endure some of the retaliation of that pain in the previous relationship. The new person may have to deal with that change in lifestyle that he may be bringing to the table now because he wants to be guarded.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Another thing that we spoke about in the last episode that I thought was interesting, you know, we talking about why men can't adapt and move forward in a certain way when it comes to cheating. We talked about, of course, if sex is involved, 9 times out of 10 he rolling out.
Right.
So we already established that, right? So where's the line? Where's the line in your opinion, for most men? Where would the line be? And we talked about stepping to that door.
Right.
Like if you don't let me know what's going on, then that can be the line. But does that mean I can't forgive you because you stepped to that door? I can. I
Right.
think I can.
Right.
Because it's just something that, okay, you didn't tell me about a particular situation. The physical wasn't there, but I find out about it, or you come around and you tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a conversation. She may have a viable reason why she didn't want to tell me.
Right.
I didn't want to tell you because I wanted to protect you, or I thought you would be upset, or I thought you would be whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If she shows that she has no problem bringing everybody to the table and being transparent about it, then I should be willing to move forward.
Right.
So I don't know whether for me, I think I would be able to move forward in that type of situation, but just trying to sit here and think about it, I don't know where the line would be. I know what would be difficult for me, and that's of course what we all know is the physical part.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's the line. I think the line
that would
is,
be the line exactly, exactly there.
I think the line is knowing this is what I could forgive and this is what I can't. Like for the physical, is there anything that she could tell me that would make me go, okay, I kind of know where you're coming from with that. I think I want to work to forgive you for that. For the physical side, is there any, like, I don't think there's anything that I can be told on the physical side that's going to make me have the thought of sticking around. But the problem with it is that it also depends on where you are as a person, as the man, right? If
Right.
you're, I think if we're talking about husband and wife, and if we're talking about someone you've built a life with over years, and you have
Of
children, and you
course.
have assets together, and you have things going on, that can be difficult to just pick up and leave. Even
Right.
emotionally, if you know you want to, that's a decision to really make on a whole lot of different levels. To say, man, is this
Right.
something that I can deal with, or is it something that I'm out, you know? And then
Yeah.
it's not something that, I don't think it's something you can make a split decision on. It's not like a right now decision, because you might think you okay with it. Even in your scenario, you might think, okay, she had
Hmm.
a dude on the side. It wasn't physical. It was just emotional. And I think I can forgive her for that. But you won't know if you can really forgive her until the next 3 months, and the next 6 months, and the next
Right.
year, and the next 2 years
Something happens that resembles
that
that
triggers
same
it.
scenario. Yeah.
Right. So I think there's a big difference between living with something and forgiving for something.
I agree. I mean, and the thing that's coming to my head while we're talking about this is unconditional. Unconditional love. This would be the definition of unconditional love. This would be that test. This would be one of those key things that a man has to have maturity and patience, and that may take a long time to have that type of unconditional love, because that would be, for
Mm-hmm.
me, that would be the definition of that.
Yeah,
Because
I
again,
agree.
thinking about those phases that a man will go through, it definitely has to do with the maturity, what he's been through. And the most important thing is how he truly feels about this woman, and what status they're in. If they're married, if they're in love, if he's just dating her, if he loves her, but he doesn't have any ties to her.
Right.
You know, there are a lot of different scenarios that would determine what the outcome would be in regards to him forgiving the woman.
Yeah. And the type of person we talking about, and what's funny, what we're not thinking about is the get back kind of dude. The dude who don't
Right.
want to leave, but he like, yeah, I'll forgive you. But really, I'm
Yeah.
about to start sleeping with everybody. That's gonna be my forgiveness. I'm gonna tell you I forgive you, but on the back end, I'm gonna start cheating and
Yeah.
feel like feel like you gave me a pass to do what I want to do.
Yeah. And then my mentality with that is that you might as well just walk away. You
Right.
know,
Because it's a
if
lot of people who do that. It's a lot of people who
a
don't
lot of people,
forgive
yeah,
for being cheated on, but they stay, and then they feel like it gives them the green light to go and start doing what they want to do. It was just
yeah,
a messy situation because now it's just you don't really trust the person you with anymore. Obviously, they don't trust you, and y'all just you know, it's just messy, man.
yeah. That's a good point, because if you stay and you just play this, and if you will, you play this game, men have to understand that it really doesn't fix the problem. It really doesn't fix your hurt. It really doesn't fix the pain, because again, you're going to have questions and you're going to want answers. And if you pretend and play that game, okay, you are essentially hurting someone back. But ultimately, when you sit back and look at it, when you wake up a year later and you done cheated on her as well,
Right.
you're still in the same spot.
Yeah, and that's that crazy sense of entitlement, right?
Yeah,
So some people have a response to being cheated on by feeling entitled, like, oh, now I'm entitled to do what I want to do.
yeah. And another good point that I think, from my opinion, I think that if you can really tap into to show that you are, of course, we're not telling people to get taken advantage of. I think people should just walk away if it's a toxic situation. But in the midst of trials and tribulations and tragedies, you could eventually come closer. If she's able to
Oh
see
yeah,
that you can show that unconditional love and you're able to accept her for her flaws, she may become not just a great companion. She may become so loyal to you because you were able to overcome that, and because she's more concerned about what it is you feeling and how you're going to react to it. She may actually become even more so into you, because you're showing a different side and a different level of forgiveness. I think that's really hard for men to do. But I think on the back end of it, you can reap some benefits if you can get to that space. I think you can become closer with the person that you're with, because there's a bigger picture. It's not about the mistakes no more. It's about the ultimate goal, and that's you being with that particular person. But once again, like you touched on, the ego and the pride sitting on the throne is something that's very important to men in general. And
right.
if that's tapped and that's tarnished and that's shown, and it's shown otherwise, that's woof. That can be like a knife in your back. So, you
Yeah,
know,
man. The worst place for a woman to be in the eyes of a man is in his insecure imagination.
whew, yeah, I'm gonna have to
Because
take a drink on that.
when a man is insecure or you've made him insecure, the worst place you want to be is in his imagination, where he's always running what you're doing, where you are, who you talking to, because he'll always think you're doing something wrong. He'll always think you're sitting right beside him. He may think, man, who's she on the phone with? Who's she texting?
Mm-hmm.
She going over her girlfriend house. Who over there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the part of it that men have a part dealing with internally, is being honest about how insecure they've become since they've been cheated on. And I don't know how, if women are as honest about that as well. But you have
Yeah.
to be that's one of the things in the healing process, is you have to be really honest about where you are in your insecurities and what being cheated on has done in you emotionally, so that the person knows what hurdles they have to jump. Like, what's there to be fixed if they want to stick around. If you both choose to stick around, they need to know, hey, this is how big the hurdle is that it's going to take for you to jump over, and there's no time limit on it.
Yeah, because you end up finding yourself working to prove yourself again because you've lost that trust.
That's right.
And people can actually get into a headspace where the person who actually cheated is so tired and frustrated because they want the person who was hurt to just move forward. Just move on, stop talking about it, stop bringing it up. It's 6 months down the line. I'm tired of having an answer to you in certain ways or being questioned in certain ways. And then this is another form of that double standard. It actually, the scenario actually turns the other way. It actually goes into the person who actually cheated is now telling the person who's trying to get over the pain and the hurt that you're the one that's making me feel the way I'm feeling. And
Right.
you should feel bad for that because I'm trying to prove myself and you won't get over it and you will. So that's another thing that people do. I don't know if men do it more than women, but me being a man, I can see a lot of men doing that, going down that road and making those mistakes. And then one day she may be just bringing it up because something reminded her of it. She may have
Yeah, and
saw the
she just
woman.
might.
She may and 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 you may be tired and frustrated of dealing with that. And I would say that a real conversation is supposed to be happen about, is this what you really want? Because again, there's no time limit on when this person is supposed to really move forward or forgive. And
Yep.
then on top of that,
Nope.
who's to say it's going to look like what you wanted to look like?
Exactly.
This may be her forever, for as long as you know her because you've hurt her. But
That's
the
right.
point is, she's here. The point is, she's there with you. I think that's something that definitely needs to be talked about ahead of time. People should really be proactive and talk about how they feel about cheating. Have they even been able to get over heartache in the past and how did that work? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's you'll get a real good insight on the person you're dealing with if you really
Right.
have a conversation with that person and say, well, if you were the cheater or you got cheated on, was there anything that you learned from it? Or was there anything that you could have that you wish you would have did differently? That's a
Right.
good question. Was there something
That
that
is a good
you know,
question.
I know for me, there are a lot of things that I know I could have done differently as a young man, which would have made my situations and my experiences a lot more easier, a lot more stress free, drama free. But again, you not knowing and not really understanding relationships and not really having a guidebook because again, even somebody else's guide, you dealing with a whole nother individual.
That's right.
So what's good for this person is not necessarily good for the next person.
I completely agree.
But yeah, they flip that shit. They be like, "Hey man, you ain't over that yet.
Right. And you can't be that way. The
You
fact
can't."
is like you said, that the person may be different for the rest of your relationship. I don't care if
Yeah,
you're with them for the next 10 years, 15 years, 40 years. They may bring that up every now and then, and they have every right to.
that's right.
And, and as the person who cheated, that's what you have to understand, that you're signing up for if you choose to stay in a relationship. You're signing
And
up for having to have those conversations.
that's
You're
right.
signing up having to be asked those kinds of questions repeatedly, possibly, and
Yeah.
having to give possibly the same kind of answers, or being asked to go in more detail about certain answers about questions that you've already given.
And you should be making an effort for those questions and those feelings not even to come up because you are putting so much of an effort in and so much time into this person because of the mistakes that you made
Right.
that 6 months down the line this person, he or she, is saying, you know what, I really appreciate you. You have really shown you made a 360-degree change. I don't know if, at first I thought it was just because it was new. You knew I was hurt. And
Right.
but you're showing me that you're opening yourself up and also making the effort. So you should be winning that person's trust back, doing things that you normally wouldn't do, and also reassuring that person. Maybe you need to be the one bringing it up 6 months down the line and saying,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, I apologize for that. I know it's been a while, but I wish I could take it back, but I'm gonna continue to do what I need to do to show you
Right.
that I mean what I say and I say what I mean. So I think a lot of times people have it twisted. They have this mindset of, this is how I'm feeling and you should feel the same way. I'm moving
Mm-hmm.
forward, you should move forward too. But
Right.
to be honest with you, just like the double standard for men, women don't move. They may move forward, but they're not going to forget. They're not going to just forget and move on. They will move on, but they may be nights when you having a conversation and she brings it up right out the blue, and it's going to be your responsibility to identify it and try to put that fire out. And guess
Yeah.
what? Be okay if you can't put the fire out. Don't get mad at the person. It's already happened. Take it on the chin. See, a lot of people don't know how to just take it on the chin and to just let it be what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You right. I messed up. You know what I mean? So you got to just let things lie where they lie. You can't just go back and argue the fact and bring up other things and deflect, if you
Right.
will, as to the reasons why you betrayed the person you care about.
Yeah. And like you said, you have to take responsibility for your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
That's it.
No matter what your reasons were for cheating, you have to take responsibility for your choices. No one makes you choose to do anything. The way
That's
you
right.
respond to anything is your choice. If you're unhappy, you get to choose how you respond to that unhappiness. If you're feeling ignored, if you're feeling unloved, if you're feeling sexually neglected, you choose how you respond to those things. And if you respond to those things by cheating, then you have to understand and take responsibility for your
That's right.
actions.
That's
That's the
right.
first thing, right?
That's right.
I think the second thing is you got to forgive yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like if you don't look at yourself in the mirror and forgive yourself for hurting the person you love, then you're going to always think that that person hasn't forgiven you.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes those conversations might come up and it might not even be coming from a place where, at least from a woman to a man, where she's asking you questions because she doesn't trust you anymore or that she doesn't love you anymore. She just may be curious. She just may want to talk about it again. It just may be a conversation for her to say something has emotionally triggered me just now and I want to talk about it. And you have to engage in that conversation with her.
Right. Because a woman is gonna have a deeper thought process. She's already past what you did and how you did it. She's
Mm-hmm.
more interested in your thought process and understanding how you got to the point where you did what you did.
Right.
And she wants to find out where the disconnect was versus her just assuming. Some women may assume, but some women may ask those questions and say, well, what made you feel the way you felt, or what made you feel like you were being neglected, or what made you want to go and do something like that, mentally, from a mental standpoint.
Yeah.
So if you sit back at the table with your significant other, you need to understand that those conversations, those hard conversations, are going to be talked about, and you don't know when they're going to be talked about. But for men out there, I definitely think you should tackle it head on and address it head on. You
Yeah.
shouldn't run from it, and you should be prepared to handle it, because again, those are things that you should think about before you make a decision to even cheat. Like
Right.
you said, Dub, you
Right.
need to be prepared to deal with anything that comes after your actions, being responsible for your actions. So understand that you thinking that you're going to get it on a regular basis now, and now you're not getting it no more, and you mad because you're not getting it no more. Well, you need to understand that you cheated on your woman. So
Right.
you might get lucky on your birthday on Father's Day or something. I don't know.
And I think in that situation, man, both parties have to understand that they both play a role in the healing process.
That's right.
It's not in this situation that we're talking about where a man cheats on his woman. The man has to understand it's not the woman's responsibility to forgive and get over it, and that he has no work to do.
Right.
And also for the woman, she has to understand that it's not just his place to earn her forgiveness back and put her in a place to where she can trust him again. They actually both have a lot of work to do to get back to a place to where they can trust and love each other wholly again.
Yeah, she has to be willing to receive it, and not only receive it, but believe it at some point. And guess what? She may never believe it. If you got to come to, it's 2 years later, and you got to have a real conversation. Hey, this maybe we need to have some time apart and really come back, because a lot of times people try to force things. I think when these type of things happen, they try to force each other to work it out. And the trauma may be so dramatic and may be so tough. You may need to go and step back and move on with your lives in a different way to understand the importance of the other person. I truly believe if it's meant to be, it'll be. And you have that time to heal individually. When you're not around that person, you're going to grow fonder of that person. And the next time you guys come down and sit down at the table, it's not going to be so hostile. It's not going to be so stressful.
Right. But the conversation is still going to be had. This is not one of those things where time heals wounds. This is not a time healing wound.
Right. Yeah, so, it's going to be had.
You still, fellas, if this is you in this scenario or about to be, just know time doesn't heal this wound. You're still going to have these conversations with her.
Definitely.
Period. And then, like you just alluded to, the woman has to really be honest about whether or not she can truly forgive him for his transgressions. Exactly. Even if she wants to, because you can want to forgive someone, and that's where you kind of get in that, I want to forgive him or forgive her, and you try. Mm-hmm. But the day you realize that, you know what, this is really hard for me to forgive, you have to be honest with that person to say, hey, I know it's been a year, it's been 2 years, I know it's been 5 years, and I've really tried to get over this, but I can't love you the way I want to love you because I still haven't really forgiven you for what you did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Yes, it's a waste of time to some,
but that's real.
But that's what you have to go through to realize, I thought I could deal with this, but I can't. Right. And that's just what it is.
And I think that statement can be made on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought I could move past this and continue to prove my love to you and these things. And, it's just becoming too difficult for me, because that person, that man could say to himself, hey, not only have I not forgiven myself, but I find myself trying to do things out of me just being guilty and not doing it because I truly love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the, so for both sides, you have to be able to recognize what you're doing and recognize those things that really need to be identified about yourself first, and then about the other person. If you don't like to be trying to prove yourself or answering to somebody else and those type of things, take the L and just walk away, because that's what you're going to end up having to do.
Yeah.
You're going to end up having to do that because you've hurt somebody, and guess what? A year, it could be 5 years later. When you step back to the table, guess what? Nothing has changed. It's just not hostile no more. As far as she knows, you're still the same person.
And the only way she'll learn the difference is that she has to be ready for the answers to the questions she's going to ask. If a man that cheats on a woman for whatever reason, what she has to do is when she asks him questions, she has to give the man space to allow him to answer honestly and not get angry and blow up because you don't like the answer.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's where you start, because what we do as men, we deal with women that we love and women that we care about. We filter a lot of things. We don't say a lot of things the way it comes from our gut.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
from what we feel and before it comes out of our mouth, it's not the same.
Right.
Like we edit a lot of things sometimes out of concern that I have to say this a certain way because
That's right.
if I say it how I'm thinking, it's going to
Yeah.
hurt her feelings, even if that's not our intention.
And let me say that
Right.
that's a very good point. That's a very good point because I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, Most men, including myself, we do a lot of filtering,
Yeah.
and that's because what women hear and what's being said are two different things.
Two different things.
So men have to filter these things because I can say something, and instead of the woman actually listening to what I'm saying, she's interpreting what I'm saying and then making a conclusion about what I'm saying.
You
Yes.
add the fuel to the fire of you cheating. She's already angry,
Yes.
and you're probably thinking, man, she just asked me this question. I want to answer
Correct.
it honestly, but do I
Correct.
really want to keep adding fuel to this fire? So,
Correct.
ladies, what you have to understand is that if your man cheats on you and it's something you can get over and you want to ask questions, you have to give him space to answer those questions honestly and
Yeah.
just listen. Ask the
Yeah.
question and just listen and absorb what he's saying. And if you don't understand his answer, ask him to elaborate. But what you can't do is ask him a question, let him give you the answer, and then you argue about the answer. Because when you ask him the question about his whys, you're talking about his feelings now and his thoughts and
Hmm.
why he made the choices he thought he should make.
Right.
In that space, that's not about you. You're asking him about him. So you need to sit back and listen to him tell you about him without being argumentative, because then even though he's the one that did wrong, he's not going to want to talk about it anymore.
Right. And like you said, I mean, a word of advice to the ladies: if you ever want to bridge the gap in communication with your man, the man that you care about, when you're communicating with him, appreciate his brutal honesty. If
Mm,
you can show him that you appreciate his honesty instead of critiquing it, twisting it, bouncing it, taking it a different direction than what he's trying to say, you will eventually get him to a point where he's no longer filtering things. He trusts that you're going to just take what he says at what he says. But it's a double edged sword. The more honest I am, the more brutal honest I am, the more drama, the more pain, the more confusion that is brought back to the table because a woman may not understand what I'm saying, or a woman may feel that, her feelings are hurt. Because once again, if I'm being brutally honest about something, it's like, okay, you want the truth, but you really don't want the truth. What do you want? Do you want the truth? Or do you want a watered down version of the truth? And it's a really fine line, and every woman is different. And I know some women that are they will accept brutal honesty, and they
right.
will they will rock with whatever type of energy you bring in, as long as you're respectful.
Yeah.
I think women should definitely work on trying to accept those responses that they don't like to hear, that
Right.
may touch on their feelings. It may make them feel bad, and it should be the other way around too. I'm sure women have to filter
They
their
do.
responses.
Oh, 100%.
I
I know so.
I
Yeah.
can, because it's ego involved. Like, I'm not going
Right.
to say what I really want to say. You're not all that. you
Right.
know, you're not even top five.
And maybe that conversation can lead you more into whether or not this is something you can forgive that person for.
Right,
Because
right,
sometimes is not the what, it's the why. Sometimes you can forgive an action until you learn why they did it, and then that's when it becomes unforgivable. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter what it is. Somebody can steal $1 off of your table. If the why is because I'm starving and I lost my job, you like, oh, okay, I understand. But if they say, oh yeah, I stole $1 because I always steal stuff from you, you probably not gonna forgive them from taking $1.
Right. Right.
So it ain't the what, it's the why.
What really stings and was really hurtful from a woman's perspective and a man's perspective, if the why could have been easily prevented
From a conversation.
from a conversation or from just making a little bit of effort.
Yeah.
It's like, if that's your why,
Right.
and that's another point too.
It depends.
If you have a why, you should definitely bring your why up before you make the decision to cheat. You need to be saying, and just so at least on the back end, you can say, well, I told you the why. I bought it to you. From a woman's perspective, I'm sure women always bring the why to you, and they say, all right, now you don't want to act accordingly. You don't want to do what you need to do. Then Mr. John Doe over here, he in the cut. He just waiting.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I have a line. Honestly, I don't know if I can say, if it's this, that'll be easy for me to forgive, and if it's that, I'll never forgive that. I don't think I have a line. I don't think I'll be able to forgive any of it, honestly, only because, yeah, I have a problem when people break my trust. I really do. And it's not even about my woman. It's about people in general. Like when I inherently put my trust in someone and they prove that I can't trust them anymore to any extent, I'm not gonna fool with you no more.
Right.
And the way my mind works is I replay things in my head. Yeah. Right. So even if my woman cheated on me and we had these conversations, I'm asking all these hard questions. She's giving me these brutally honest answers about, this is where I met, and this is where I went, and this was why, and this is this. I'm gonna be replaying all this in my head, and in my mind, I'm thinking, damn, this entire time I was sitting around not knowing this was going on. So she was looking at me in my face every day.
That's the part right there.
Knowing she was doing this, and I had no idea. For me, that is the part that I would not be able to get over. You was looking at me every day in my face, smiling, acting like everything was cool. In the meantime, you was going to giving it up to this other dude whenever you was doing it. That's the problem I'm gonna have.
Don't even tell me. Just go on about your, because and I'm gonna have the same problem. Like, you can't, if you come to the house or you get on the phone every day and you've had these interactions with this other guy every day, don't say anything. And then 6 months down the line, it comes out. And once I get into the questions and you get into answering those questions, it's not going to be about what you did. It's going to be about how you presented it to me and what you brought to me. Because I'm big on that. Like, I'd rather you say, you know what, 6 months before this, let's say this happens one night and you got a connection with somebody. Guess what? Within those few weeks, I'm expecting you to fall back off of me. So that way I can go do, don't hold people up. Don't hold your lady up. Don't hold your significant other up. If you don't pretend to be something. If you're pretending to be something, then I'm gonna have an issue with that. I'd rather you say, you know what? I think I need to fall back, or I need to be single, or I need to do whatever it is you need to do. Go do. And I'm gonna have a lot more respect for you. I'm not gonna be mad at you, but when you come to me and you play the part, and like you said, when you every day you see this person, and it's like nothing happened. Yeah, that's
the part that's gonna get to me.
Yeah,
it really is. And I know myself, and looking at her every day after that would be really hard for me. I can't lie.
You just looking at her with disgust.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Yeah, and
You
no,
ain't
and
shit.
I'm not. Yeah, and I'm not vindictive. Like I'm not a get back kind of person.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna just
boy,
leave
that
you alone.
that's
I'm not gonna
gone.
give me too.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
not
gonna leave
gonna
you
get back.
alone. I gotta leave you alone. We
Yeah.
might revisit it later on, but I'm definitely the person that's gonna say, look, we need to separate, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's we'll see what happens in the future. But for now, yeah,
Yeah.
we got to part ways because I can't deal with this right now.
Yeah. I mean, and that not only goes in relationships, but that goes in friendships too.
Mm-hmm.
Friendships, family, children, mothers, fathers, cousins, uncles,
Yeah.
whoever it is.
Right.
When you go and you try to play a part with somebody, and that person finds out that you have been deceiving them, it's
Right.
I don't know how. There's no you can't justify that.
Yeah, you can't. And there's a saying that if you can't get over something, it means you have to go through it,
Hmm.
right? And for me, I would have to be in a certain mental space to be ready to go through fixing something like that.
Hmm.
Or I may never
Yeah.
be in a mental space to go through it. I might say, you know what, I don't want to know. You know,
Yeah.
thank
I
you for
don't.
the little bit of honesty you've given me.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. If you are the cheater, and if you are the person cheating and you are as upfront and as honest about your feelings as you can be, just understand the person still does not have to forgive you.
Yeah.
The person still can tell you to kick rocks.
That's
Thank you
right.
for your honesty. They might even understand why you cheated. It still doesn't mean they have to forgive you.
That's right.
So just understand that. Your sorrow, your apologies, even if you're deeply hurt by it, they still don't have to forgive you. They can still tell you, sorry, it's not enough. There's nothing I want to work at. And, go on about your business.
And I think that since we're talking about all these different things, I definitely think that people need to understand that everyone makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. There's a certain level of principles and morale and integrity that you need to have when you're making a mistake and when you are the one who's being hurt and the person who's getting
Right.
hurt and having to deal with that trauma. So I definitely think that people need to understand that if these things could be really worked out, and you're talking about a massive change in the community. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking about a massive change because these type of conversations affect children. These type of decisions and how they feel mentally, the man or the woman. Ultimately, if there are children involved, there's going to be some trickle down effect for the children.
Right.
And that's what we don't want. So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with the person that you're dealing with. And if there are children involved, you have to ensure that whatever lifestyle, whatever love and affection and effort that they were getting before, that they continue to get it. And for the person who's hurt, you have to ensure that you don't cut that off because you're very emotional.
Right.
Just because she cheated or just because he cheated, that doesn't mean that that person cheated on their child.
Right.
That doesn't
That's a
mean
great point.
that she cheated on her
Yeah.
child
They didn't cheat on us.
they
They
didn't cheat
cheated
on
on they
us
cheated
or
on
he
you.
left us
Right.
or
It's no
she left
us.
us.
Cause that I hear that. They he or she left us.
Right. And that's a whole nother episode, but we're gonna get
Yeah,
into
it
that
is.
because
Yeah.
I'm all the way in and hot and heavy on that type of shit. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's part of the problem why we where we are.
Yeah. Mommy or daddy left us. They did this to
They left
us. They
us.
cheated on us.
They cheated on
Yeah.
us.
Nah. Yeah. Don't
No,
involve the kid.
no. And that's and so many children have been affected by that and they grow up to be angry and they grow up to be toxic and they have a certain mindset.
Right.
And the bottom line is no one's perfect and you shouldn't allow that pain and your mistakes to trickle down into other family members' lives. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily have to be a kid. It could be a brother. It could be a sister. It could be a mother, a father, whatever.
Right.
But, I just wanted to jump in there and say that because that's something that just came to me while we were talking about this. Because when you have two people involved, especially if it's a marriage, when
Mm-hmm.
you have two people involved and one person cheats, and we've been using the example of the man cheating.
Right.
If the man cheats or he's cheated on and they have children involved, 9 times out of 10, the children are going to be right in the midst of it. And there are going to be things that are going to happen where they're going to lose out on a lot of different things
Right.
because somebody has not really looked in the mirror and checked themselves first. Whoever's at fault, both people, like we said earlier on, because you can still co-parent.
That's right.
But if you're in your feelings and you haven't forgiven yourself, that's going to be hard for you to do. And if you
It
haven't
is.
forgiven the other person, that's really going to be hard for you to especially if you're the custodial parent and you allowed your child to go to be with his father and you still mad about some shit that happened 2-3 years ago. And, it can just really affect children. So definitely please listen to what we're talking about because again, and we're not experts, sometimes I think everybody needs to go see a therapist at some point in time in their life. This mental health thing is something that is starting to bring up to the forefront when it comes, especially for the athletes. But you need to understand someone's mental health background as well before you make a decision to go out and cheat with somebody too, because
Yeah.
that could affect them as well. You don't know what type of reaction your woman or your man may have. You need
Right.
to understand what that's like. You need to understand what that tolerance looks like, what those triggers look like. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just
Yeah. A couple things about at least about um, everyone makes mistakes, right? Like I
mhm,
definitely believe that, and everyone does make mistakes. My problem with that is making
mhm,
mistakes as a mature adult versus making mistakes as a young adult, and
mm,
I'll explain what I mean. As a young adult, as a young male, you think you can handle all situations that are thrown at you. You think that if you're in a relationship with a woman, that you can go to a bar, meet a woman, have drinks with her. She shows you she's attracted to you, and you think that you can handle the situation and not end up being involved with that woman in some way, shape, or form. 8 times out of 10, most men fail that situation. Most young men fail that situation.
without a doubt.
Maturity plays a part in how you react in those situations because there's still effort needed to cheat with that person. Even if it's a one-time thing, there's still effort to leave the place you met the person at. There's still an effort to tell your significant other wherever, to lie about wherever you're going. There's still some effort to meet that person where you're going. There's still a lot of effort there that is revolved around this mistake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yes, people do make mistakes, but there's certain things you learn about putting yourself in certain situations as you get older.
Right. You're supposed to learn from your mistakes.
You're supposed to learn from them. So now if you are a 40, the hell, 30, 40, 50-year-old man, and you still getting caught up, you still hanging out, and you, oh, know what happened. I just kind of met her and it just kind of happened. Oh, nah. That's not a mistake that can be forgiven because you making mistakes like you don't know no better.
Right.
So
Right.
so not even about the mistake. You just dumb. Like I can't rock with you. Like if my lady did that to me, I'm like I can't rock with because you just stupid. What
Right.
you thought was gonna happen? You with this guy, y'all drinking. He asked you to come back to his place to look at a movie, and you say, "Oh, okay, I'll go."
Right.
And then
Right.
y'all just end up having sex, and you don't know how it happened. Like, are you that dumb? That's not a mistake.
That's not a mistake. Right.
Are
That's
you
just a
like
lifestyle.
you just dumb? Right? Honestly, I can't remember. Like, what did you think he wanted?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So even from that perspective, I get the mistake, but the mistake is you being stupid. The mistake ain't the infidelity.
Because if it's a mistake, you're gonna fix it.
Yeah,
That's what makes it a mistake. But if
you
if
gonna see
you
it coming.
right, if you are intentional, like you said, that effort, that can be called anything other than the mistake. It's not a mistake because you
It's not a
keep doing
mistake.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, you keep doing it.
yeah. How you not see that coming? And I guess for me, that's where it's a gray area for me when it comes to forgiving mistakes about things that I think you should have saw coming. You know what I mean?
When you say that, I think about conversations that I've had in the past about certain situations. And like you said, you didn't see that coming. You didn't
You got to
know.
see it coming.
You didn't know what that was.
Right.
You know, you think about look how many celebrities have been in situations where, you know, it's the middle of the night, you know, it's a guy and a girl and something goes down and they say it was a mistake. It's like, are you sure? Are you
You
sure?
sure?
Was
Right. Are you sure?
it a mistake or
Right.
was
Because I
it
feel like you should have
you
saw
know,
that coming.
you should have saw that coming. I like that analogy. You
You know
should
what
have
I
seen
mean?
that
So
coming.
that's my problem with forgiving certain levels of mistakes,
Yeah.
because are you really that absent minded to not have seen that coming? Because if you are, I still don't want to rock with you, because now
Well, you know, people
you
want
know.
to be absent minded when it comes to them.
This is true.
You know,
To
when
that
it
to
comes to them,
themselves.
when they got the red beam on them, they get dumbfounded. They
Right.
don't understand. They can't comprehend anything. But when they got the gun and they pointing it back at you, they don't want to hear none of that.
That's right.
You smart then. You very smart then. You got your intelligence, your IQ is out off the
Through
charts,
the roof.
through the roof.
Through the roof.
But when it's you, I just didn't
I
know.
just didn't know.
I didn't know he
I ain't
liked
think
me
about
like
that.
that.
Right.
I
I
didn't
didn't
know
even
she
think
liked
about
me
that.
like that.
Exactly. Come on, man.
Oh, you
You
know.
know? And then the other part about the kids, like if there's kids involved, I believe the worst reason to stay together is for the kids.
I agree.
Because if you two truly cannot get over the situation and forgive each other for your transgressions and move forward in love and relationships, your wounds are going to bleed all over your children,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
because they're going to see that something ain't right between y'all. Staying for the kids is the wrong reason to stay in this kind of situation. If you truly cannot forgive each other or the other or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
y'all need to go around y'all separate ways and just be really good co-parents. Because if you just stay for the kids are going to witness and hear a lot of things that they probably shouldn't, because of the arguments and the questions and the side eyes and the, like, they gonna see and hear all that.
On what you're saying right now, I want my ladies to get involved. I want my ladies to chime in on these things. I want them to really hear what we saying, dislike it, like it, respond. We did have a few ladies come in and respond to us regarding the first cheating
Mm-hmm.
episode. But I really want my ladies to come in and really talk about these things, your feelings when someone has broke your heart and you may have a child with that person or it's a husband, these type of things. You know, I really would like, you know, of course, anonymous. We're not trying to put nobody on blast, but definitely I want the women to come out and really put their perspective on it because again, like Dub said, if you're in that situation, the child is going to hear so many toxic things. It's better off for two people to be apart. But at the
Right.
same time, there's a thin line. Just because you're apart, still be positive and allow the other parent to co-parent. Allow the other
Right.
parent to do what they need to do because ultimately it's going to help you as the
Right.
custodial parent and it's going to help the child understand what the future is looking like. You know, and I came up in a house that was my parents weren't together. So, you know, and if they were together, what would that look like? Would it have been a toxic situation? I would hope that they would have done what they did if it was going to be a toxic situation.
Right.
You know, kids get involved in the midst of things. Kids see things that they shouldn't see things that they shouldn't hear. And what you're doing is you're creating a personality. That brain is still developing in that young girl, that little girl, that 7-year-old girl, that 5-year-old girl, or that 4 or 5-year-old little boy who's seeing arguments happen every day and seeing
Right.
language used and seeing all these different things.
That's right.
So, you know,
Arguments that aren't meant to lead anywhere. Right.
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
even if you guys are really working towards staying together, you're going to argue but they're going to be different arguments. They're not
Right.
going to be arguments to antagonize, arguments to point blame. They're going to be arguments to find answers and to move forward. Those are two different kinds of arguments.
Good point.
So your kids might witness you arguing, even if you guys can forgive each other. They may hear you guys arguing. They may see some things going on, but hopefully it moves to a place of love and resolve,
Right.
so that that is a distant past for them.
Right.
So that maybe they can say, oh yeah, I remember a time when I heard my parents arguing in XYZ, but that isn't the the majority of a good chunk of their childhood was hearing your parents argue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you can't forgive each other and you got kids involved, staying together for the kids is the wrong reason to stay together. It really is.
Yep. It's tough. It's easier said than done. But again, I just wanted to throw that out there because there are other people involved, you know.
Something I'll add to this is, if you're in either one of these situations, you're the cheater or being cheated on, man, be careful who you tell your business to.
Mm.
You know, be careful who you tell your business to and what you tell, because what people tend to do is when they get wronged, they lash out to people around them out of anger, and you don't want to do that because you may be getting opinions and advice from people who you don't need opinions and advice from.
Man, listen,
You
that
know,
is so critical.
Be very careful who you talk about this kind of situation with, even if, no matter what your decision is, your decision to leave, your decision to stay, the world doesn't need to know. That's between you and your partner, and maybe even your therapist. You know, like Trey said, man, that was a great suggestion. Go see a professional therapist who knows how to guide you through these conversations, who knows how to ask the right questions of both of you, and create a safe space for you guys to argue, you know.
That's
But
right.
be real careful who you tell this to, because everybody don't have your best interest at heart, man.
There you go. And most of these people are going to give you the wrong advice. You're going to take that advice and you're going to bring it back to the table with your significant other. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to make your situation worse. Then, and then you're going to have to answer to the fact that, why would I'm sitting here telling you what's going on with me, but you went and poured your heart out to a friend. Your friend actually gave you some advice. You actually listened to it and took action and brought it back to me.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of symbolization right there with that. And what happens is, if it's a woman, the guy gets advice from his female friend and he brings it back, the situation may get a lot worse, especially if it's something that she picks up on and says, you know, well, where's all this coming from? Why have you had such a different change of heart in that? Oh, well, I was talking to my friend and I such and such and such and such.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be like, oh, so it's going to, you know, that person's going to automatically be on the defense and be like, so I can tell you what's going on with me every day, and you somehow can't comprehend it or understand it. But somebody who doesn't even know me at all can give you advice and tell you what you need to do, and then you put it into action.
Put it immediately. That's what I'm going to do.
Put it into
I got a plan.
I got a plan now. Man, listen.
Yeah.
You better go you better go talk to somebody professional.
Yeah, go talk to a professional. And you can vent, like we all, it's always good to have someone that you can vent to.
Of course.
You know, about whatever it is you're going through, whether it's in a relationship, at work, no matter what it is. Like, you can vent, but again, you got to be careful who you do that with.
Right.
You really do. And sometimes the people who you think are your best friends, sometimes you think the people who got your back aren't the people who need to know certain things at this level. It's so many people, bro. It's so many people out here who have friends that are waiting for them to fail. Who women have relationships and their girlfriends are so jealous that they can't wait for her relationship to fail. You know, there are guys in those situations.
They can get their girl back. They get their girl back to the streets. Girl, let's rock. Let's trip. We going on trip. The fellas, man, we got our boy back. He back.
Yep, they can't wait for your happiness to go away with that other person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you got to be careful who you talk about this type of thing to.
yeah. And also the your friends are biased. They're gonna always be biased. They're gonna always give you the answer that you want to hear. So that may not be the answer.
That's
Giving
right.
me the answer that I want to hear is not gonna help me grow. It's not gonna help me reflect. It's not gonna help me be accountable. I don't want to talk to anybody who is going to give me the answer I want to hear. I want
Right.
to talk to somebody who's going to give me a different perspective than what I already had. I don't need you to co-sign and put the battery in my back to go
Right.
back to the table
That's
to
right.
make it worse.
That's right.
I don't need that. I need somebody to say, well, step back, Trey. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this perspective? Have you thought about that perspective? And once again, when you're talking to somebody who is personal to you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's biasness involved. But
Yeah,
I
it
would
is.
definitely say a third party, somebody who doesn't know you, somebody who doesn't know her, preferably a professional, depending on what the topic is. But
Some time ago, a long time ago, I had a friend, real close friend, guy friend. He was telling me how he found out his woman was cheating on him. His wife was cheating on him. And he asked my opinions, asked my thoughts. Honestly, I told him, I said, dude, do what you want. I said, if you want to forgive her, forgive her. If
mm-hmm,
you want to leave her, leave her. I said, but you do what you want. My friendship with you is not based around the husband you are to your wife.
right,
We still gonna be boys, no matter what you choose.
mm-hmm,
But you need to do what's best for you. If you want to forgive her, if you think it's something you can forgive, then forgive her. If you can't, don't. But that's up to you. And I say that because I think that's a perspective all friends should have, is that regardless of your decision, we're still going to be friends. I'm
right,
not your friend based on the husband or the wife you are to your significant other.
mm-hmm,
That's not the basis of our friendship. So whatever you choose to do, I'm going to support it because it's your decision. Not the, oh man, you should leave this alone and you should do this and you should do that. And she probably did this and she probably said, like, them the people you gotta not tell your business to.
right, because they think they have all the answers. They make a lot of assumptions. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really funny how relationships work when it comes to that kind of thing. When someone is venting to a friend and the friend is giving advice. And it's almost like something psychological happens there where the person just wants to get validation that what they're doing is right so they can go back and continue to fight the good fight, whatever that fight is.
Of course. Right.
But yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help, and it's not healthy.
Yeah. Again, and I'm not saying don't talk about it to someone. I'm just saying be real mindful of
Of
who you
who you
choose to
talk
talk
to.
to about it, who you
Mhm.
talk to about it. Because again, it's always good to have someone to talk to about things you may be going through. You know what I'm saying? Like we all need someone in our corner who we can just talk to.
Right.
So, I would never discredit the importance of having that. That's all.
Well said.
What else we got, man, in the healing process of either the cheater or the person that's been cheated on?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, man. For men, it's so difficult to come back from that. There's not only a transition, but I think there's a maturity that comes along once a man has been cheated on and
Yeah.
he has had his heart broken. I think there's a level of maturity that comes after that phase and a
Mm-hmm.
level of understanding that comes for the men who want to accept it and want to
Right.
really look at it. Not I'm not talking about the guys who just like I'm gonna be on some grimy shit.
Right. Right.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the guys that's saying,
Yeah.
okay, this what real life is about.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get your heart broken, you're gonna get disappointed, you're gonna get cheated on. Everybody gets cheated on.
At some point.
Everybody has been cheated on.
At some point in their life.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I agree
you
with
know,
that.
I
Yeah.
think I posted something on our Facebook page. I think I said something in regards to how you handle it. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how you react to how you being cheated on. That's the most critical part. We spend a lot of time and be angry and figure out the whys and so on and so forth. But I think the most important thing is really showing that understanding and that growth regarding what happened. You have to be able
Yeah.
to, you know, oh, this is the saying I think I said, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it.
Yep.
So
I agree.
if you can focus on that 90%, and your reaction, that will be critical in anything in life that you do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about your personal life, especially, you have to be able to learn how to react a certain way. And you got to learn from it. Understand your triggers, understand what you're not going to stand for in the future, what you're not going to be
Mm-hmm.
played. We're not sitting here saying that we want people to just be happy go lucky, jolly green giants and shit.
Right.
We just saying
Right.
that you need to make sure you understand yourself. And I think in my process, I did. So
Yeah. The question I have right now is, when it comes to matters of the heart and how you react to matters of the heart, right? Your emotions and someone losing your trust and breaking your heart, whatever that is, right? How do you reflect on feeling guilty for being the person that you are that can't forgive?
mm,
Like, is there ever a point where you consider a person, not you literally, Trey, but just in general, is there a space where a person reflects and goes, maybe I could have forgiven them and changed myself to be able to forgive this person for doing XYZ? You know, that piece that happens where you think that maybe you're part of the problem as the reason why you couldn't forgive a person's transgressions. Or do you just rock with who you are, just say, hey, you know what, that's just who I am and I can't forgive you for it, and that's just it?
let me tell you
you,
something.
you see what you
Yeah,
understand what I'm saying?
yeah. But if you can pose my thing with that, Dub, is if you can actually pose that question, you have already won the battle because you're
Yeah.
actually asking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually reflecting to a point where you're saying, could I have forgiven this person and carried on in a different way? And this could be
Right.
years later.
Mm-hmm.
You may see this person at a bar and you haven't talked to this person because this person cheated on you and you
Right.
said, F you and this, and it's over. So,
You walk through my door.
right.
You don't walk through the
Yeah,
door.
you don't
It's
walk through the
over.
door. So fast forward 2, 3 years later, you're a different man, you're a different person, and you cross paths with that woman again. Because I'm gonna just say,
Right.
use a man perspective,
Yeah.
and you sit back and you think to yourself, could I have really forgave her and tried to work it out? For
Right.
me, the response would be, the fact that you're even asking that question says a lot that you've grown, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
two, it depends on what she actually did
Yeah, that's
and
true.
how she did it.
Right.
Because for me, I have to use myself as an example because I can only speak for me. But when I make decisions, whether they're right or wrong, I've always I'd rather be comfortable with a decision that I made and not other people being involved in my decision making process. If I'm going to make
Right.
the decision, if it's the wrong decision, I learn from it.
That's right.
If it's the right decision, great, I'm winning. But
Yeah.
I have to be satisfied with the decision I made, even if I know 3, 4 years later this person is an amazing person.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, she got it going on again, you know.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
I have to sit back and say to myself, yes, if I was more mature, if I was the man I am today, yes,
Yeah.
I would have been able to handle it differently.
I might have been able to move
I
past
might
that
have
and
been
handle
able
it
to move
differently.
past it, but everything is about timing. You know, I have people come up to me right now and talk to me as if I'm the same man that I was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even know who I am. If you knew me 20 years ago, you have no clue who I am today.
That's right. That should be all of us.
It's supposed to be, but I don't think it is. I think people, you are what, this is what's so crazy. You are exactly what that person thought of you 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
If it was good, it's good. You're a good person. If you were an asshole, guess what? You're an asshole today.
You still the asshole.
You still an asshole. and it's sad that it has to be that way, but I give everybody fair opportunity to give them the energy that I'm giving because I'm giving love. So if you give me love, even if we was at odds back in the day, if you show love because you want something different, I'm gonna get that back. I'm not thinking about what happened 20 years ago, 10 years, 5 years ago. Forget 20. I'm not thinking about what happened.
Because you both are now different people.
We different people.
Yeah, and you understand that.
Yeah. So I think that's important. I think that's a good question. I think it's important when it comes that people have to understand that when it comes to cheating too. When you meet somebody and they're going through and of course I do believe men mature much, much later than women. So of course, we as men in our early 20s, teenage, early 20s, even early 30s, we are definitely not as mature as some of these women that are out here. Don't be so hard on us. That's all I can say.
Yeah, the person I am now and the person I was in my 20s, almost two different people. You know what the differences are? I think my standards and my morals remain the same. Like you said, it's just about that 90% of how I react to things.
Yeah.
Is a big difference.
Yeah.
I don't react to things the same way as I did when I was a lot younger. Something we touched on already is you learn to see things coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I believe I used to say this when I was younger. Part of a man being faithful is understanding what he can and what he can't handle.
I agree.
Right. And keeping yourself out of those elements that you know that you're not mature enough to make the right decision in. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So if you know when you drink too much that you get a little wild and you don't care what happens, then you should be mature enough to understand, I can't drink too much.
Right.
And if I do, I got to be home. I can't be out in this element, drunk, because then I'm going to act a fool. You have to know that about yourself.
And, and the sad part about that, Dub, is that all hell got to break loose for you to recognize that. I've been preaching this since we started this show. Stop waiting for the shit to go wrong.
You got that right.
Stop waiting for the shit to go wrong, man. If you self-reflect, you will prevent so many different things from happening. If you know you drink too much, if you know you smoke too much, if you know you can't go to certain environments or certain type of environments because you may be persuaded to do things.
Right.
Don't wait till it happened and blow up in your face and then say, "Oh, let me reflect." You done already took so many different L's. If you married, if you get pulled over and you highly intoxicated, whatever it could be, understand who you are. Understand who you are and try to think of worst case scenarios before they happen. If you think of worst case scenarios before they happen, you will at least be a little bit more cautious when you're taking those drinks. You'll be a little bit more cautious when you see that beautiful woman or when you see that attractive man. When you see that night, that, financial wise or how you handling your money or all the things that may take you into this addictive personality, because I think we all have vices. We all have things that we love to do. But again, you have to have that balance. And the only way you can have the balance is that you got to recognize it. Don't recognize it after the fact. Recognize it before so I can adjust. And that way, if something was to happen, I'm prepared for it. And I can maneuver in a certain way where it's not so detrimental to my health or anybody else's health for that matter.
Right.
But, I think we should definitely reflect and look at, you got to look at yourself, especially for the men. I think the men really we just moving. When we moving, we
Yeah,
moving. You know.
yeah. And an immature man never looks at the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And even when he does, he thinks he can handle it.
Yeah. It
You
sounds
know what I'm
good till
saying?
you in it.
Till you in it. Yeah, and someone's hurt.
Yeah.
You know? And that's a great point. I like that point, man. That's a great point.
Yeah. We as men really need to understand what that looks like, and in turn, you may treat your woman a little better. You may be a little bit more loyal and a little bit more forthcoming to show her the appreciation that she needs. But you need to understand that it sounds good, and you may go ahead and ride this little wave out because you wherever you are on a trip or wherever you doing your thing. But again, you better be prepared for the consequences, and that's what people in general. A lot of people just aren't prepared for the consequences. But if you have taken some time to think about it, all you got to do is stop for 5 seconds and just think: if this go down tonight, if it go down tonight, what are the worst consequences that can happen? I'm gonna leave it at that because I can say some shit.
The worst consequence is nothing that you want to take part in.
It's nothing that you want to have nothing to do with.
Yeah. So why go forward with it, right? And that's what I was alluding to earlier. Where how could you not see it coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think of the worst case scenario and walk away. It ain't that serious.
It's not that serious, man.
You ain't gotta knock it down for the fellas.
You ain't gotta knock that joint down, man.
You don't have to conquer everything that flashes at you.
Hey, man, you ain't gotta knock that thing down, player.
You don't, man. You don't have to conquer. You don't have to conquer everything that smiles at you and looks like they want you.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You're not obligated to do that.
That's right.
I don't care who your friends are. I don't care if you think it's part of your manhood, if you think it's your rites of passage. I don't care what you believe. But you don't have to do that.
You don't have
now,
to
if you're single, if you're single and maybe or y'all had an understanding, hey, knock them down, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
You still might have some consequences out there.
You still might have some consequences, right?
I had you a couple babies on that.
Yeah, man. Problems, bro.
Yeah, man.
Problems.
Yeah.
Problems.
I definitely agree. I definitely think just stepping back, taking 5 seconds and thinking about the consequences will help people be more authentic with their decision making. Even if you decide to take that step forward and do whatever it is you're going to do, at least you took the time. So when on the back end, you should understand that there are consequences for everything, and I definitely truly believe in karma, and some people are okay with that. Some people are okay with making those decisions and saying, I'm mentally able, physically and mentally able to handle what comes after that. But the people that aren't, I don't even like being around those type of people.
Nah.
I can't even have a conversation with you because when I'm talking to you, I'm like, so you felt like you could do all of these things and carry this all this way, but now you don't want to deal with the consequences of doing the things that you were doing.
That's right.
Those type of people, to me, are dangerous people.
Because they don't want help.
No.
They don't want help. When they talk to you, they don't want help. They're not asking for you to help.
No, they're not.
They're just asking you to feel better about having all the shit they got.
Well, they playing that scenario I played earlier. They want justification for why they going through what they're going through because of they got to deal with the consequences and they feel like it's not fair.
That's right.
He or she just need to get over it. No. I need these ladies to chime in. No, I need these ladies to get in.
Definitely, man. We definitely want to hear from the ladies.
We might have to bring Lady K back
about all of this.
We might have to bring Lady K back on this one, on cheating.
Hey, we might have to do a part 3 on this. you know, because it's such a dynamic topic. Um, and it's not even about, like, we've been talking about the men versus women in this scenario, but even with that, man, people see this topic completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Different men see cheating and getting over cheating completely different. Different women see it differently. The forgiveness is different. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's just it's a easy topic to talk about for a really long time. To dig into all these little pieces of it, because it's a complicated thing. It's a lot to unwrap, and we're just talking about it like we're just having a podcast conversation about it. Imagine how difficult it is to unwrap when you're in the situation.
Yeah.
You know, that's what a work is, because all the tips we given and all the stuff we're talking about be patient and listen and let the person be honest and let the person speak, and all these things that we're saying, they're easier said than done. And I think
Facts.
both me and Trey understand that,
Facts.
right? Even though we're talking about these things
Right.
like they're easy to do, the reality is that they're not easy to do. They really aren't.
And I can honestly say I have been on both sides. So I understand, I know what it is that both sides have to deal with,
Hmm.
especially emotionally. And but I can, like I said before, I'm only bringing a man's perspective. But
Right.
I definitely would like to hear from a woman that who has also been on both sides. I have been
Yeah.
cheated on, and I have been the one who has cheated. So I completely understand the dynamic that you fall into when you're trying to explain, when you're trying to understand, when you're trying to forgive, when you're trying to have this unconditional love. So, I've been on both ends, and I definitely would love to hear a woman's perspective. So, but again, it sounds easy to do, but me and Doug, we both know that it's definitely hard to do. And some people, and I know people that are still hurt 30 plus years later. It's
Mm,
still hurt. I know
mm.
people right now who are still hurt 30 plus years later. So,
Wow. And that, yeah, I guess there's no clock of forgiveness. You know, there's no calendar date or a number on the clock that says this is when forgiveness happens.
and that's that consequence. That's those things that you got to deal with. Like, when you thinking about your woman, like if you cheat on her, do you think she'll ever forgive you? If you had that thought at the bar for 5 seconds or in the club, it's like, man, she would never forgive me.
Yeah, I think the better question is, could I forgive myself for cheating
Yeah,
on this
that
woman
too.
that I love?
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
um, that's the question I would ask myself: is
Mm-hmm.
could I forgive myself?
Mm-hmm.
Could I look my woman in the face? You know, worst case scenario, obviously, you cheat, it comes out, and you have to face the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then the other part of that, like, my kids are old enough to understand what that means.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? My children are old enough to where I may have a conversation with them to answer their questions as to why I did what I did. That's a whole different part. You know, you ain't talking about kids that are 5 and 6 and 7. If you got a teenager in the house, or
Oh, they understand.
a young adult in the house, and that's something that you have to bring them into the conversation
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on and the whys and the whats, man, that's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And I would also add to that when you have those type of responsibilities in your life, it's just better to just be honest up front, say what it is that you feel like doing, and if that person is okay with you doing those things, that person will stick around. If that person is not okay, then there are things that need to happen that need to change. But the cheating part, when you get to a certain level of maturity, cheating shouldn't even be
a response.
It's
yeah.
You should be smart enough. You should be smart enough to understand that you can be honest up front and deal with a much less dramatic consequence.
Yeah.
And go forth and do whatever it is you want to do, live whatever lifestyle you want to live. You should be smart enough to understand that that's going to be a difficult conversation too. And it may be heartbreaking as well, but it's not cheating.
Right.
And I think when you get to a certain level of maturity, you realize that it's just better off for you to just be honest. If you can just be honest about who you are as a person, you would never have to be put in the category of a cheater.
Yeah. And I think what I can say is for people out there to understand is that your happiness is only an honest conversation away.
Mm-hmm. I would completely agree with that.
Your happiness is only an honest conversation away. Whatever that looks like, right? Whether you want to be out here doing your thing, whether you want your significant other to straighten up or whatever it is an honest conversation away.
Yep.
And your happiness is right there.
Facts. I echo that so much. That's well said. Your happiness is an honest conversation away. Yeah. And the problem is that men and women are so tied in they're so tied into the reaction that they forget about the honesty and the original conversation. And, we want to answer the way we think the person wants us to answer.
That's right.
You already lost. Just be honest. And if you be honest, guess what? The chips might not fall your way, but at least you're honest and you can still be happy because you're honest and you're not looking over your shoulder.
And you're representing who you truly are and who you want to be.
Yeah.
You are expressing what it is that you need to be happy. And you can move forward with living your life in a manner of which that makes you happy without feeling like you're hurting anyone's feelings anymore.
Exactly.
And that's what it's about.
Being a burden. Yeah.
Or being a burden, right?
Yeah.
Cheating part 2.
All right, man.
I got nothing else.
I'm good too, man. Until the ladies shout us out.
Until the ladies chime in.
Man, y'all scared out there.
Yeah. Chime in.
They scared.
Ladies, chime in.
They don't want to have this conversation.
Go to the website, dubandtrey.com. On the website, there's an area where you can leave your comments about any episode. We hope you comment about this one right now, or after you listen to it. And just let us know if you want to be a guest on the show about a part 3 of this. It doesn't necessarily have to be about cheating. It could just be about anything relationship based that you may think is important, or maybe something we touched on that you want to get a little deeper into. www.dubandtrey.com and then on IG @dubandtrey. You got anything else, Trey?
I just want us to come together, however that look like, friends, lovers, as a community, we got to come together. So the only way we can do that is to have these tough conversations. So that's all I got.
We out.